And welcome into News Nation now on this Thursday. I am Aaron Nolan, and happy Earth Day to you. It was 51 years ago that Earth Day began. As you can see on your screen, we're talking about NASA today, and NASA is not just meant for what happens in our skies above. NASA is also focused on the Earth below. We've got research scientist Bridgette Seegers joining us now. Bridgette, first things first, Earth Day for you being a NASA scientist, what does it mean for you?
Oh, it's so great to be here. And yeah, Earth Day is a great day for all of us in earth science, of course. You know, we spend all our days trying to figure out and better understand what's going on the planet. So, having everyone take time to acknowledge this is a really special place and we should be paying attention to it is exciting.
Well, Bridgette, again, kind of talked about this, and this is something that NASA sent an email to us here at News Nation about. NASA is not just focused on celestial beings. It's not just focused on stars and comets and what's happening on Mars. Tell me about what NASA is doing here on this planet to make sure that we are doing a good job of keeping this planet safe.
Yeah, it's surprising to a lot of people that one of NASA's original missions was to study the Earth from space. And NASA's been doing this for nearly 60 years. We've had satellites out circling the Earth and looking back and trying to understand what's going on. And the satellites measure all sorts of things from what's going, CO2 in the atmosphere, to where the forests are, what kind of crops are we growing. We look at the oceans, we look at lakes. So there's a whole suite of instruments that NASA has looking back at planet Earth and letting us understand what's going on. And when you're looking at the Earth from space, you really appreciate how it's one system. You just see it all sitting there, all the pieces coming together.
We do see those beautiful images from space, from the International Space Station of Earth, and it kind of reminds us that while we are such a big planet, at least while we're walking on the streets here, we are such a small planet when it comes to everything else that is going on. What is NASA learning right now about the planet? I mean, we have seen tornadoes, we've seen wildfires, we've seen ocean changes. We here in Chicago know that Lake Michigan continues to grow. What are we learning from a high vantage point about what's happening here on Earth?
Yeah, so, by looking back at the Earth from space, there's all sorts of changes we've been able to notice. So like I mentioned, the satellites have been looking back for decades, 50, 60 years. And so because of that, we can actually, look where we're at today, and then we can go back 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years and start to understand how the system has changed. And you're right, there's all sorts of changes that we've noticed. And weather is a big one for people all over. So, more named hurricanes coming ashore, really big rain events. So you're talking about Lake Michigan. Yeah, when we get storms now, often they're really intense and they drop a lot more rain all at once, and that leads to flooding. And we also have droughts that are longer and hotter. So we've been noticing all of these changes through time.
Bridgette Seegers joins us, a research scientist for NASA here on News Nation Now. Bridgette, we're talking about Earth Day. I'm interested how you can incorporate the International Space Station and views of the Earth. What's going on up there at the ISS that we need to know about, and what you need to know about research-wise for what's going on actually here on Earth?
Yeah, so the ISS is a great platform for doing Earth research. So there's incredible instruments that are on the ISS looking back at Earth, and they measure all sorts of different things. We have instruments that are measuring CO2 in the atmosphere. They're keeping track of where the CO2 is coming from and where it's going. There's a really neat instrument called Jedi, and it's actually a laser on the International Space Station, and it's looking back at Earth and it's looking at forests. So we can see where there's deforestation, we can see what types of trees are growing, how much canopy cover is there. So that's a really exciting thing as well. So yeah, the International Space Station is definitely an important part of Earth science.
Okay, well, hang on a second. We're talking about Earth Day here, Bridgette, and you just mentioned something called Jedi, and my mind goes to maybe Endor, a planet in Star Wars. Tell me about this laser system that is now Jedi Knighting, if you will, here on this globe.
Yeah, so yeah, Jedi, and it studies the forest. So what the forest be with you is what they like to say. But yeah, so it's really exciting. They can tell a lot of details about what type of trees are growing, the heights of the trees, and that really impacts carbon. And so carbon is a big driver for climate. And also water usage. So those are the types of questions they're trying to answer with Jedi.
One thing, and you mentioned this, that is a hot button issue, we've seen it out of Washington, D.C., is climate change. How is your research affecting what we all know, what we're learning about the change in the climate?
Yeah, so again, because NASA has these satellites and they're taking a global approach, we can really keep track of all sorts of different things that are impacted by climate. We can look for sea level rise, the melting ice caps, temperature changes, and changes in, like we mentioned, the forest. So where are things coming and going? How are those systems changing? And that's all, part of climate, and NASA is getting the data to help us understand that.
All right, so one of NASA's longest running Earth science missions is Landsat. Tell us a little bit about that project.
Yeah, Landsat's a really great mission. NASA works on it with the USGS. It's been going on for 50 years, and there's another Landsat satellite, Landsat 9, being launched in September. So it's going to keep this incredibly important and long time series going. What Landsat does is it looks at land use, so we can keep track of which crops are where. We can also look at how cities have changed over time, and also it's being used for water quality studies. So it's a really important time series. And again, it allows us to look back in time 50 years and look how things have changed and where we are now.
Bridgette Seegers joins us, a research scientist from NASA. It is Earth Day 2021, talked about 51 years ago. 1970 is when Earth Day began, Bridgette. But talk about NASA's projects and their activities today for Earth Day. What can people learn from what's going on with NASA and Earth Day?
Yeah, so NASA has a really great website right now at nasa.gov/Earth Day, and it gives you all sorts of links to different activities that are going on that are appropriate for people at every age, every interest, anything that's happening on the Earth and at NASA has got a little bit going on for Earth Day today. And there's also a hashtag you can follow, Connected by Earth, and that's another way to stay involved.
Get on social media, use that hashtag Connected by Earth. For you personally, being a scientist and taking a look at all the different research that you have, how important is Earth Day, not just maybe for you personally first, but also for the kiddos who are in school right now learning about Earth Day and finding ways to continue to live here on this planet?
Yeah, I think Earth Day is really important. All of us are doing our work, we're trying to understand the systems, but the next step with creating information and understanding is spreading that news and getting other people inspired. Like, we can only do this if we do it together, and we all are part of this one system. And everyone should, the more knowledge we have, the easier it is for us to take action. So yeah, knowledge is power. So the more data, the better understanding, the more we're talking about the importance of these things on days like Earth Day, hopefully people will keep learning and feel inspired.
All right, let's find out a little bit about you specifically, Bridgette. What's your field of study? What's your focus on there at NASA?
Yeah, so I'm actually an oceanographer by training, so I've done a lot of work off the coast. But right now I'm working on a freshwater project, so, very appropriate for the Chicago area. I'm from Wisconsin originally, so right now what I'm working on is toxic blooms of algae, what people call blue-green algae. Is kind of that green slimy layer that you might see out and about. So we're working on a way to use the satellites to monitor for those events, so we can give people warnings, before there's a drinking water issue, or if you want to go out for a swim, like which lakes are safe and where should you be going. So that's what we're doing now.
That's really cool. Obviously, I think a lot of us want to get closer to the ocean as we've been locked away because of a pandemic. But I'm curious your take on the possibility of the Mars rover finding water. You're into water. You just mentioned that. What's your take on what's going on Mars when it comes to water?
Yeah, there's always a lot of interest in water and looking for it, because as we think of life, we know that water is a very important part of that. So yeah, as they're discovering more information about what the Mars system was like in the past, it gives us new insights, and water is definitely an important part of that puzzle.
All right, Bridgette Seegers, I'm going to let you go. We're running out of time here. Thank you so much for taking time here on NewsNation.
Oh, great chatting with you. Thanks for having me. Happy Earth Day.
All right, Bridgette, happy Earth Day. We're going to let her go. She's talking to a lot of different people all around the country, research scientists from NASA, Bridgette Seegers. Very cool to sit down and chat about that. We encourage you, if you don't know about NewsNation, maybe you're watching us right now on your favorite local television station. We're a brand new network. We're unbiased, not going to tell you how to think about any one subject. If you want to think one way about Earth Day or another day about Earth Day, that's your call, not mine. So that's what we're doing here on News Nation. Find more at newsnationnow.com. Also follow us on social media. News Nation Now is our handle. And if you want to find out how you can watch our newscast, they start at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock Central with early edition. Go to our website and up on the upper right-hand corner, put in your zip code. We'll tell you how to find us on any of your favorite streaming services or your cable networks. I'm Aaron Nolan. Have a fantastic Thursday.